Another principle I would say, and I want to get your thoughts, I'm going to pull out your principle, is own it and don't be the victim. What I mean,
yes.
That person who describes, this terrible thing and also tends to blame others, this thing happened and that thing happened, is probably not looking at it as, what do I do in this chesslet game of life that is now having these things come at me? Where if you own it and you say, listen, this is your game, this is your life, and these things come at you, and now it's your move, and you got to make those moves right. So you're thinking not, woe is me, but you're thinking, okay, now I've got to do that.
Yes.
I think that's an important approach to life. What do you think of,
Yes.
and what is, or your version of something like that? Feel free to totally disagree with me.
No, I wish, I'm not saying I wish I disagreed with you. I don't, because I think there's a lot of similarities. I've always called it change the situation, change yourself. And it's like, I think a lot of us, those are two choices. And I think a lot of the time we put a lot of energy into changing a situation. And to me, that's a lot of the time that's out of our control, what we were discussing. Like, I can't decide the weather today. I can't decide whether someone's going to like me because of how I behave with them. I can't change someone's complete energy or aura towards me. I can't always change the situation, but I can change how I view it. I can change myself. And Wayne Dyer had a beautiful statement where he said that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And I think that's always been very important to me, is that if I can't change the situation, how can I look at it differently? How can I change the lens through which I'm perceiving this?
So I hear that connected to the thing that you said earlier about whether you're feeling good for yourself.
Yeah.
And it brings up another, is don't worry so much about the approval of others.
Yes, that's a great one. I mean, that's a huge one. I mean, that's at the core of so much of this. I talk about, in my book, Think Like a Monk, I talk about the 4 C's for the 4 types of people you'll meet in your life. And the problem is we're trying to find one person to do all 4 of them. So some people in your life are going to have character. You go to them because you know they have high character. That's why you trust them. They may not always be around. They may not always be available. They may not be, they may not be next to you every day, but you go to them because you know if you want to make a decision with high integrity, that person is a person of high character. Then you have someone in your life who's consistently there. You have someone who's always been your friend, they've always been around, they don't necessarily give the best advice or the worst advice, but they're consistent, they're there, they're with you, they will go through the trenches with you, and they're consistent. They don't always have the best next move or the best idea or insight, but they have value in the fact that they're loyal, they're consistent, but that is their value in knowing that. The third is care, someone who cares about you. I always give the idea of my mother. Like, if I called my mom right now, it's like, Mom, I was just with Ray, I just interviewed Ray Dalio, I learned all. She would just be like, have you eaten today? Like, that's what my mom would ask me. She's like, what did you have for breakfast? I'd be like, Mom, like, I just spoke to Ray, and she'd be like, no, what did you have for breakfast? What are you having for lunch, right? It's someone who cares for me. I'm not necessarily going to go to my mom to ask her for advice for my podcast, but I know she's the person that cares for me. Like, I know she'll be there for me no matter what. And the final one is competence. There are people in our life who are high competence. They may not care about us, they may not have high character, but they're very competent in what they do, and I may take advice from them in that. So to me, knowing who to get approval of in different areas, if I try and get career approval from my mom, she may never give it to me because she's not happy for me to be on a plane, and she's not happy for me to be running around and missing meals. She doesn't approve of that. At the same time, I don't need my spiritual teacher, for example. I go to him because he's of high character. But if I asked him for business advice, he'd say to me, well, this is my integrity principle, but he's not necessarily going to give me investment advice. So I think becoming very clear about who I went to approval for what became very useful.